It is April 29th, 2026, just about midnight here on the East Coast, and welcome again to another episode of the WrestleCord podcast. I'm Ryan here, along with Cordial, and we are going to talk about everything that just happened tonight on Dynamite. What a fun show. I know as we were coming to the close right before the main event, you chimed in, oh my God, it's almost over. And sure enough, this was a nice, fast show. Real fun if you were all the folks there in Fairfax, Virginia. This emanated from the Eagle Bank Arena. We had a little surprise here with Taz back on commentary. I'm not sure exactly why he has been gone so long. It's been nice to have Nigel McGuinness as well, but it's also nice to hear the very irreverent and bizarre commentary, sometimes absolutely insipid commentary that Taz brings to the booth. It was Taz, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur doing commentary for this show, and we started out with a big match that we got announced last week with MJF challenging Kevin Knight for that TNT championship. I know we speculated on Collision and last week about what might happen here between these two. It didn't seem very likely that MJF would necessarily win the belt, and that would be a little more shocking, but it would also be pretty shocking for Knight to go over him. And so we're going to run down this match here, folks, and see what exactly did happen here. I thought this was a pretty interesting match and a pretty interesting ending to the match at that. And do you want to start us out here, Cordial, running down the play-by-play here on this match?
Yeah, sure.
Want to do a little Excalibur work?
I guess so. I'll do my best. So we have, like you said, we have Taz back on commentary. And I thought it was funny because as Justin Roberts is announcing, I hear Taz say, he said something about not liking the way that Roberts was announcing, which I thought it was funny.
Me neither.
Yeah,
Makes
right.
a whole bunch of us. He's really speaking for the mob here.
Yes, I know. So we have both men in the ring. MJF starts very quickly, throwing Knight over the rope and then across the metal steps. And as Knight lands on the floor, we see him clutching his thigh towards the top, closer to his hip. So I'm not sure if that's like where exactly he hit, or maybe he hit weird whenever he hit the floor. We get MJF slamming him back into the guardrail and then back into the ring. MJF tries to cover for a 2 count. So then we get Knight coming back with some offense, just raining down fists on MJF. MJF tries to get offense on Kevin, but Kevin ends up doing a drop kick and then following up with a splash, trying for the pin, but only getting a 2 count on that. So we have MJF splayed out in the middle of the ring, and then Kevin goes up to the top rope. But as he goes up to the top rope to do his next move, MJF actually rolls out of the ring, which this ends up becoming, in my opinion, kind of a funny spot because we have this play between the two of them where Kevin jumps over the top rope, throws and lands into MJF. He then throws MJF back into the ring, goes for another move, but MJF again.
Well, he doesn't even go for another move. He throws MJF in, and MJF just rolls all the way across the ring to the outside.
Yeah.
Kevin gets back in, just sort of shrugs his shoulder, runs over and does a suicida now on MJF on the outside. He throws MJF back into the ring. MJF now sort of rolls catty corner out of the ring here. Then Kevin Knight would follow up with a tope con hilo, throws MJF back in. Guess what, folks? He rolls back to the outside. From here, Kevin does a massive top rope springboard clothesline. That looked wild. He jumped all the way from the top rope, like right all the way to the edge of the ramp there, which was set decently back from the ring here. It's not always the case with AEW. They have a bunch of different configurations they'll do, especially in some of these smaller buildings. I personally love when they do the giant ramp that goes all the way to the ring, stage. Yeah, I love that.
But I think for this move, it was good that it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would have just been a whole different thing because actually it would have been better for Kevin Knight. He wouldn't have fallen so far
Yeah, but I
because
think that's what made
the
it look
ramp,
so good.
because that thing is, well, yeah, but it's definitely not in the favor of Kevin Knight's
No,
knees and
no.
body. But
Yeah, yeah.
nonetheless, we,
So then he throws
yep.
MJF back in, and once again, MJF rolls back out. So he eventually gets back in the ring.
So Kevin Knight starts chasing him here. MJF slides back in the ring. Kevin goes to get back in, but MJF catches him in between the ropes and goes for the heat seeker. Kevin ends up just shoving MJF off.
And then Kevin goes for a sunset flip and pins for the 2 count. And then back and forth, they're just doing these like seesaw pin attempts. I don't even know if, I'm not sure who was reffing this one, but I'm not even sure if they actually got any counts in. It was just, I don't know. It was interesting. I don't
Yeah, they
particularly
got counts
like
in.
it.
So he does. He actually goes for the sunset, but I don't even think he really went for the sunset per se. So
Okay.
he's like on the mat, and MJF like goes over him. Sort of looks like he's gonna mount it for a punch, but Kevin reach up and like folds and rolls him over into that cover in that sunset flip style. Then MJF reverses that cover into a cover zone. They reverse back and forth a couple times before eventually getting a kick out here.
So then we get MJF on the top turnbuckle. He and Kevin is up on the ropes in front of him. Kevin ends up doing a flip backwards, but lands weirdly. It looked okay to me, but the way he
Well, I
landed,
think
he immediately
MJF got to the middle rope. He was going to do a Panama Sunrise,
okay.
but Kevin cut him off. And Kevin like mounts the ropes himself and starts trying to punch MJF, but MJF like shoved him off, and Kevin like did a flip and landed on his knee, and it was like his knee gave out. Of course, we talked earlier about him getting shoved into the ring steps and him grabbing his leg, so
Yeah.
it looks like he's having an aggravated injury from that here. And we would see this a little bit later on, him struggling to get better mobility in the ring.
So after he does the flip and lands, he actually goes back over to the corner and does a Hurricanrana on MJF. That looked pretty. MJF landed really
Yeah.
hard on that
That looked
one.
great. And this is here again where we start seeing the knee problems. As Kevin Knight goes
Yes.
ahead up to the top turnbuckle, and he's definitely little step slower here. He's definitely gotten slowed down, but nonetheless he gets to the top rope, goes for the US splash. Nobody's home. MJF gets out of dodge. Knight tries to run at MJF, but he can't. His knee is given out here. MJF ends up hitting a Panama Sunrise for a 2. Kevin's really clutching at his knee. This is where MJF sort of hones in, targets that knee like a predator, gets him in a single leg Boston Crab. You can tell Kevin's in a lot of pain here. He drags himself to the ropes, but MJF pulls him back out to the center. Kevin would end up rolling onto his back and kicking MJF off of him. Kevin thrust kicks MJF, knocking him to the mat. Heads up to the top rope for a UFO splash. I'm sorry, I'm reading your notes here, and I'm not quite sure what's going on here, Cord. Do you want to give me some insight?
So after
to
he
where
goes
we
up to
are right now?
so after he goes up to the ropes to do the UFO splash and connects with MJF, he's not able to capitalize on it. He's not exactly on MJF. Like he does the UFO splash and kind of like rolls
Bounces
off of him.
off.
So then he's like dragging himself back over to MJF, and he just looks so exhausted.
Yes.
He just like does that like one arm
Does
throw over his chest
old
for the
one
count.
arm pin, that old school wrestling cliche.
Yes.
So and he only gets a 2 count here. Again, Kevin's really clutching his knee here, really nursing this injury.
And limps to the other side of the ring.
Yeah, ends up limping to the other side of the ring. MJF continues working the knee here. He spits on Kevin.
What an ass.
Yeah.
So
MJF
disrespectful.
follows this up with a really hard Alabama slam, and then does a nice little cocky cover, putting his knee on Kevin's chest, only getting it 2. Then a few more pin attempts here, and he still can't put Kevin down. MJF getting tired here. He's getting annoyed at the situation, ends up heading outside, grabbing a hold of the TNT title. He brings it back in. Bryce Rensburg yanks it away from him. Turns to go hand it back out to the timekeeper. They really need to stop doing this. This keeps causing trouble. As he's doing this, MJF reaches to the tights, and out from there materializes the Dynamite diamond ring.
Yep.
Puts it on his pinky, kisses it like the smarmy asshole he is, and then hits Kevin in the head. Oh, but wait, no, he doesn't, because Kevin catches him with a low blow. I just said he didn't.
Oh.
He catches him with a low blow, cradles him, and gets a near fall, except he doesn't. He gets the pinfall on MJF. That was right, folks.
Yep.
This was not a DQ. It wasn't a count-out schmoz. MJF didn't get caught using the ring. No, it was Kevin Knight taking a shortcut.
Yep.
Not a very clean pin. Kevin Knight taking a shortcut with a low blow, and then a cradle for the 1, 2, 3. Finally defeating MJF.
And retaining his title.
And retaining that TNT title.
Yep.
And MJF is losing it. He's sitting in the corner here. His lips are just quivering. He's in complete utter disbelief.
Shock.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty
utter
fantastic.
Despair.
I love MJF, but I was so excited that he lost.
He is enraged now. He starts beating on Kevin Knight here. Kevin Knight, no chance to celebrate. He's just taken into the up and coming superstar. And then we have like a beam of light through the clouds. Darby Allin descending from the ceiling, Sting style, gets in the ring, evening the odds, fighting off MJF. MJF pretty much bails out, and we get Darby Allin in the ring. He Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Darby actually does a scorpion death drop on him.
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
he does.
And then he leaves the ring.
And
he actually runs away from the ring.
MJF heads for the hills.
Yep.
But before he's out of there, he grabs a mic. He says everyone in the arena sucks. He says both the people in the ring are cheaters. Mm-hmm. He says this match shouldn't even matter because he wasn't even trying. Yep. And he demands that rematch for the title from Darby Allin. And Darby, echoing what he had said last week, he is not putting that title on the line unless MJF puts something on the line. Yep. I'm really curious to see what is going to end up being put on the line here. We know where this is headed.
Yeah, me too.
And probably for the next pay-per-view, Double or Nothing. And so from here we have Brody King coming out. He confronts Darby Allin in the ring. He says, Darby, you're in a lot of trouble because you're facing me tonight. Mm-hmm. And then he turns and... Oh, I'm sorry. I actually missed a part here. Mm-hmm. You want to go ahead?
Yeah. So Darby's talking to Kevin, and he said, next week we're going to go basically head-to-head if he wins against Brody tonight. This is then when Brody comes out from the back.
Well, what happens... I'm sorry. You're jumping ahead here.
No.
So Darby tells MJF that he hasn't put something on the line. And then he says, next week, I think I have another opponent in mind, and looks at Kevin Knight, who's in the corner holding the TNT title. Mm-hmm. So it looks like we're going to get Darby Allin and Kevin Knight next week. Mm-hmm. But then we have Brody King coming out. He tells Darby that Darby's in trouble because he's facing him tonight. Then he turns to Kevin Knight and says, you're in trouble too. I'm sorry, you're pointing at your notes. Do you have something you want to say?
So after Brody comes out from the back, after he says what you said, yes. Then he's talking to Darby, and he says, "I have some bad news for you, Darby, because you're not going to survive tonight." And then turns over to Kevin Knight, who's in the corner, and says, "Next week you're not going to be facing Darby Allin. You're going to be facing the new AEW World Champion." So, and that's where that part of it ended. So then we have a Brody King and Darby Allin video package, which was interesting. It was just showing a lot of just clips from things that they've been doing. And it had this whole red tint aesthetic to it, very much like the graphic that they've been using to promote their upcoming match. So
we head to the back. We have Renee Paquette and Adam Copeland along with Christian Cage. She sounds super hoarse. I don't know
Yeah.
if she's getting
Almost
over a
like
cold or
like
something or some sort of
laryngitis.
laryngitis. Maybe she's been screaming too much at the kids at home. I don't know. Uh, they discussed this I quit stipulation coming up at the pay-per-view for the tag title match with FTR.
Mm-hmm.
She asked Kobe Cage if they accept this. Cage immediately says he accepts. Coach said that was a quick acceptance with your history, Cage. I didn't.
Wait,
I'm
it's a
sorry.
quick, that's okay. It's a quick acceptance with your history. And then Cage, looking not so happy that Cope said this, says, I didn't say I quit, talking about the previous match, the previous I quit match that he was in, which is what Cope is referring to when he says that's a really quick acceptance with your history.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So we have up next the return to the ring at Jamie Hayter as the
Woohoo!
Brawling Birds take on some locals and Emily J
Okay. Yep. And Jordan
and
Blade.
Jordan Blade.
Yeah.
So really quick match here, and I thought this was a nice little bout of fun here.
Mm-hmm.
Lot a lot less involved than our previous match, MJF and Kevin Knight.
Yes.
We would have Jordan and Jamie Hayter starting it out. Jamie is just really wailing on. I'm sorry. Who's she in the ring with? She's in the
She's
ring with Jordan. So she's really nailing on Jordan. She puts Jordan back in their corner. Then she tags in Alex, who comes in, chops Jordan. Then tags back in Jamie, who comes in and chops Jordan. Then they do a bit of tag team work here, and we have her Jamie's partner, Jordan's partner, Emily J coming in, and she also ends up being a party to this chop fest going on in the corner. Then both the birds headbutt Jordan. Then they sandwich her in the middle of the ring. They hit the two birds with one stone and go for a pin, getting the 1, 2, 3 here. Really quick match.
Yeah.
Up next, we have our second title match of the night. The AEW International Championship is on the line, where Kazuchika Okada, our champion, is going to take on the Bang Bang Gang's Ace Austin.
Mm-hmm.
We have Don Callis getting on commentary here, as he's wanting to do. I think you mentioned something about Okada here.
Yeah, Okada, I feel like in the last, I don't know, a bunch of his last matches, he's just been looking kind of bored.
I think he looks bored from the beginning that he started here with AEW, to be
Okay.
quite frank.
Okay.
Maybe not at some of the early Forbidden Doors when he wasn't.
Yeah.
And I'm not the first person to say this, and neither are you, that
Okay.
this definitely does not, his era in AEW does not seem like he is doing his best work and he is trying his hardest. Sometimes it really seems like he's phoning it in, which is funny enough because he's still putting on really good matches
Yeah.
for a guy who's phoning it in. Okada is that good, though. And it's unfortunate we're not seeing that greatness that I feel like we saw a
In
lot
New
more
Japan.
of in New Japan. But
Yeah.
I'm interested to see this match at Double or Nothing, and I think that we might see something special between him and Takeshita,
I'm so
a
excited
fellow
for that.
countryman.
Yes, I'm so excited for that match.
So we have a lockup here. Okada pushes Ace back into the corner. The ref calls for the break. Okada pulls back like he's going to break, and then decides he's going to do a dirty break, goes for a chop, but then doesn't chop, fakes a chop, and then just lightly taps Ace on his shoulders. So cocky. We've seen him do this before. Very, very insulting, saying, he had the opportunity to take advantage of it, but he's so good, he doesn't even need to bother taking advantage of Ace Austin. So,
But then immediately he kicks Austin several times. So, little bit of a fake out. And then as we move to the center of the ring, we have Austin going for a cradle roll up and gets a pin for only a 2 count. We have them moving towards the outside. So we have Okada on the outside and Ace is actually on the apron. And then Ace ends up going through the second and third turnbuckles, kicking Okada in the midsection, which I thought was an interesting spot. So we have them still on the outside. Okada does a DDT to Ace. and then turns around and starts arguing with Aubrey. I'm not exactly sure what they were arguing about.
I don't know. He was looking like he was being a bit of an ass.
Yeah.
Like just like a little smart ass.
Yeah.
He's sort of just like making the weirdest face at her.
Yes, he
I
really
can't explain.
was.
He looked like, a 12 like a
looks
little
like a little kid.
bratty 13-year-old being a little smart ass.
Okay.
To his teacher or something.
Okay. I was gonna liken it to like little kids when they have to do the cheese whenever you go like say cheese when you go to take a picture and they do that like cheese face. It was kind of creepy, honestly. such a weird smile. So at this point we have Okada coming back into the ring to break the count out, but then rolls right back out, staying on the outside. He throws Austin into the guardrail, and then there's some kids right on the other side of the guardrail, so he does a couple high fives with them, which I thought was
at first
cute.
It looked like he was intimidating the kids.
Yeah.
And then I think he realized one of the kids had headphones on, so maybe possibly disabled. I think maybe he had a second thought about what he was doing there and decided to give the kid a high five.
Yeah.
Kid very willingly did and seemed happy about it. So interesting.
Yeah. So we get both of them heading back into the ring. Okada eventually does, you called it something different. It looked like a neck breaker.
Well, it was a neck breaker. It was like that air raid crash type neck breaker.
Okay. They always make me cringe every time he does
that one especially.
Oh, I know. It just,
The one that sort of package swinging, like, back breaker that Kevin Owens does is another one that's just like wild looking.
Okay. So then we have Okada going up to the top rope, doing an elbow drop, and then after he does the elbow drop, he gets up on his knees and fingers the crowd.
Hopefully he didn't finger the crowd. God, what has AEW devolved
into?
Oh my God, no! He flips a bird to everyone in the crowd.
Yes,
and this gives actually Austin enough time to sort of recover here.
Mm-hmm. So he ends up doing a space.
Well, he ends up tossing Okada to the outside.
Okay. And then he does a space flying tiger drop to
That's
Okada.
at least what Don Callis called it.
Yeah,
I have never heard that before.
Me either.
It's that sort of running a backflip over the top rope to the outside.
Okay.
And that's and
he did
that's our phrase, that's our move of today's podcast.
Yes.
The space what was it?
Space flying tiger drop.
Yes. All right, I'll take it.
Yes. So we get back in the ring.
Well, yeah, this isn't enough to keep Okada down.
Nope, not
we
at
head
all.
back into the ring. I think I have an extra thing. Yeah, back in the ring we have Ace catching a top rope spinning famouser, and then he would later on go for a backslide and is like 2 15/16 to the 3 count here.
Yeah.
He's so close to getting it. I thought he
close.
got it for a second. I was kind of freaked out. And Okada would fight back though, hit a tombstone, followed by the Rainmaker, and get the 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
As I think most of us expected, holding on to the international title. So that match still happening as planned at Double or Nothing. Konosuke Takeshita taking on Kazuchika Okada for the international title, with Don Callis and the Callis family sort of in the middle of this.
And I'm actually interested to see what's going to happen with that, because obviously whoever wins, they're both in the Don Callis family, but I wonder if whoever ends up losing it will leave the Don Callis family.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. That match is going to be awesome.
Right after this match, we have Don Callis heading up into the ring, and as he is, Ace Austin starts sliding out of the ring, and he takes the opportunity to throw a few cheap shots at Ace Austin. Eventually, Juice Robinson would jump in here and stop him from doing any more damage, and Don would run into the ring real quick into the safety of his boys, which we had Dunkzilla out here as well for this match. So he had Okada and Dunkzilla, who was Mark Davis, folks, if you don't know, protecting him. From here, we would have Takeshita showing up on the ramp and doing a little stare down into the ring at the Okada and the Don Callis family, which is funny because you don't really see any animosity between Don towards Takeshita. He very much seems to be still trying to play that peacemaker role.
Absolutely.
And hoping to keep the family strong and staying together. And I mean, he would definitely still want Takeshita as he is still a champion in
Oh yeah.
New Japan, the World Television Champion.
Yep.
So
And former IWGP champion.
yeah,
And when
and
Takeshita is standing on the ramp, he actually does that like belt move with his hands across his waist to be like, "I'm taking your
yeah,
belt, bro."
mimicking. I'm getting that belt around my
Yep.
waist.
Yep.
And from here, we went to a very cinematic video package. So
Yes.
we're in the Wild West. We see the camera, it's panning in on what looks to be like a saloon. We see posters on a pole and on the ground covered in dirt that say wanted Bandito and an image of Bandito on it. As we move towards the saloon, we see people falling out of it, injured. We see a guy come flying out the door. He's got blood all over his head. Then we see a figure. We're like in a low sort of behind shot. We see a guy walk in the frame. We can't see who he is. He's got blood dripping from his hands. He walks along, picks up one of these wanted posters, and it's at this point it is revealed to be Swerve Strickland.
Yep.
We get Nana popping in the frame here as well in the craziest jacket ever, as you would expect from Prince Nana.
Yes.
And Swerve would stare at the camera, he'd pull out a lighter, light this poster on fire, toss it to the ground, and mean mug the camera before we leave here. And
So
that's just where we left. So it
yeah.
looks like he's got Bandito in his sights.
Yep.
Sort of interesting. I'm not really sure what that's all about exactly.
I don't either.
But he was just feuding a bit there with Brody King over who's the most dangerous. So Bandito, part of Brodito. Maybe that's what's happening here. So
Well, I'm interested to see where it goes.
yeah. Me too. And it was actually a really good video package.
I thought so.
Again, a lot of these are a bit not to my taste. It's obviously all staged and super choreographed, and it's not particularly what I like in my wrestling. But I will say this one was nicely done at the very least. It looked good. I think we go to a commercial here and come back with the Death Riders in a back part of the arena. We have Marina Shafir and Wheeler Yuta wrestling each other on the ground with Pac, Claudio, Garcia, and Mox standing around. Garcia would say, I think you have a note on this.
Yeah, this is who we are.
This is who we are. We have Will Ospreay come walking in. Mox immediately starts interrogating him. Are you cleared? He says no, but I'm heading to Japan anyway because me and the boys have a big title match. I'm not sure if he's talking about... I must be missing something. I guess he's talking about something going on with the United Empire. I'm going to have to look at what's going on in New Japan at their next show.
The way he said it makes it sound like he's in the match.
Well, that's what it seems. Yeah, he said he wasn't clear, but he's going to Japan anyway. Yeah. So it feels like, he's saying that he's in the match.
Yeah.
John would start giving this whole speech to Will here. He would, do you want to sum this up for us a bit?
Sure. He says, so John tells him, first things first, I'm going to need you to drop everything. And then he starts pointing at his head, everything up here, the clouds, your vision, and then moves down to his heart and says everything in here, moves to his gut saying everything in here. And then he goes on to say, we don't need excess baggage when I make a commitment.
Well, he says everything between us, we need to drop it.
Yes, yes.
We need to clear that and then like you just said, we don't need excess baggage.
Yep. When I make a commitment to something, I see it through all the way to the end, and all I ask is the same in return. I will be honest, I am not usually a huge fan of...
Well, real quick, Ospreay says okay to that.
Yes, he does. And then... Okay.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. No, tell us about John.
So
and your feelings.
I don't particularly like a lot of John Moxley's promos, but I will say I actually like this one a lot. I thought he did a really good job, and I think it's a really great setup for what we're going to see in the future.
It was a lot more cohesive than
agreed.
a lot of what John says.
That's a good way to put it.
Which sounds like just random from a lunatic you might see on the street.
Yes.
It usually seems very... not very coherent.
Yeah,
yes.
It's chaotic.
And I think he thinks it kind of sounds like weird and poetic and strange and cryptic, but it just...
it
doesn't seem to
doesn't.
make any goddamn sense and makes him
No.
sound a little bit like an idiot. This actually was good. I do agree. I thought this was good here. So, like we said, Will says okay to this. Then Will walks over to where the rest of the guys are. He asks, "Where's the ring?" John says, "We don't have one. We're starting from the ground up." Then Claudio takes his shirt off. I don't know what's about to happen here. This is
Mm-mm.
kind of weird. Honestly, it started to turn a little
Well,
sensual here.
well, honestly, I think they're gonna start working with Will and
Yeah, I
training
think they're
him, is
about
what it
to beat him.
seems.
Yeah, and that's what it seemed like this whole speech was about. That he needs to clear everything he's ever learned and been taught, and all his
Oh,
feelings, and
okay.
just break himself down to bare metal.
Minimum. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that he can be built back up. But I
Okay.
just thought it was just kind of, if you watch it, it was just kind of weird the way
Yeah.
Claudio just whips off his
Yeah,
shirt
yeah.
here.
And right after he whips off his shirt, Moxley actually comes over to the camera and says, sorry,
Yeah,
this
he
is,
like covers his hand over it.
yeah, and
Yeah,
says, this is
blocking it,
proprietary.
which is
So,
such a weird phrase. This is proprietary.
well, I guess they
Not
don't
this
want
is
anyone else to
private. This is
know
proprietary.
because they don't want anybody
Well,
else
you
to know.
can't
It's
really
their way of
can't really put
training.
a patent on a training method. So,
Well, isn't that what the
uh,
WWE tries to do?
oh, they try to put a patent on everything, but
Well,
you
yeah.
can't. That's why you still see the guys who leave do their moves because you
Yeah.
can't patent a move.
Yeah. So,
How
I
you don't even
guess,
seem to be able to really patent attire very well because you see these guys sometimes have the same exact attire, sometimes with initials for the character that they're no longer even using the name of, which is funny. So,
so I guess Will's a Death Rider now.
it seems to be, which was something that we had talked about in some earlier podcasts when he
Mm-hmm.
was taken away. I was wondering if they were going to
Yep.
torture him or just try to make him
Like,
a part of the
yeah.
Death Riders, and it looks to be the
Which
case.
I find that really interesting.
I think it's a smart move for the Death Riders.
Mm-hmm.
Build the army up even stronger, and that's definitely a guy you want there,
I almost feel like this is going to build up
especially a
maybe.
fearless guy like
Yeah,
Will.
yeah. I almost feel like this is going to be like a build up to the Death Riders are going to continue recruiting, the Ops are going to continue recruiting, and the Don Callis family is going to continue recruiting. And then we are just going to have an all out bash between these three factions.
Well, we'll actually get some interplay there later on in the show. Spoiler alert, folks.
Yeah.
Up next, we get the big tag team match that was announced earlier this week, where Cope and Cage are going to take on Roppongi Vice. Now, these fires got stoked about 4 weeks ago when Cope and Cage were looking for FTR. They went into FTR's locker room only to find Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero of Roppongi Vice. They said that FTR isn't here, and Kobe Cage was basically like, well, we'll send him a message, and then just proceed to beat up
Both
Rocky
of
and
them with
Trent, which I said at
chairs.
the time I thought was extremely heelish. These dudes literally did nothing. They're
Right.
just sitting there, but they felt the need to take their aggressions out in the moment. We
Mm-hmm.
get, before this tag team match gets underway, we actually have FTR and Stoke coming out. They head over to the commentary table with Stoke sitting down and grabbing a headset.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get Cope coming out, followed by Cage, and then Roppongi Vice. The match would start off, we get Romero and a Christian in the ring. Christian's got a cast on his left forearm.
It looked like it. Oh, excuse me. That looks like an air cast.
Yeah, he had broken his forearm, and Rocky Romero will immediately target that as
Yep.
soon as this match starts. You want to keep going for me?
Sure.
Here?
Romero event also is after he's targeting the arm, he goes over into the corner to do like his little celebration dance where he shakes his shoulders almost like girls do when they're like trying to shake their boobs.
The Mina shake.
Is that? Oh yeah. I guess you could call it the Mina shake. But then Cage actually capitalizes on him doing this and drops him to the mat. We get Cope joining in, and then he and Cage are actually double teaming Romero, and then Cage ends up tagging out. We get a quick tag then with Trent.
Well, yeah, Romero tags out the Trent. We get Trent coming in,
Yep.
and we got Trent and Cope going at it. Trent actually ends up slowing Cope down with a drop kick. Starts to work Cope in Roppongi Vice's. He starts to work Cope in a corner. He Irish whips Cope across the wing, but gets reversed. He actually blocks hitting the corner and comes back, and it gets hit by a big boot from Cope. Cope would tag back in Christian. Christian starts choking Trent along that middle rope, and Cope follows up doing that. I never know what to call this move, but where he does that run and sort of jumps with his leg across the back of Trent's neck on the middle rope.
Oh, yeah.
This would lead to Trent and Cope falling to the outside. Cope would keep working Trent at ringside. At some point here, they had around the ring to Roppongi Vice's side of the ring, where Rocky Romero would get involved and help Trent here, sort of moving the tide, switching the tides here, which would get a nice applause from Stoke and FTR at ringside. And it's at this point we see that right behind Stoke in the crowd is the conglomeration, so Cassidy, Kyle, and Roddy.
Yep. Cassidy's holding a bucket of popcorn.
Which he proceeds to attack Stoke with. And then it's all of the conglomeration, FTR, battling around ringside. They battle out into the crowd. And I think you have a little more notes here on this next part.
So at this point, we have Romero and actually Christian Cage on the outside. And Romero does a running knee into Cage's arm, and then as Cage is on the ground clutching his arm, Romero's yelling in his face, "You want to quit? You want to quit yet, Christian?" To be frank, that made me laugh pretty hard because they're really
good
playing
setup
on
for this
you
upcoming
want to
I
quit.
match,
So. And then at some point we have Trent throwing Christian into the guardrail, and then Romero comes over smashing his hurt forearm into the guardrail. So throughout this whole match, they really are just working Cage's arm, which is smart on their
strategy.
part. Absolutely. We had a
Great
lot
ring
of
psychology
great,
here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of great teamwork from Roppongi Vice. I'm not familiar with them as a tag team because I never saw them.
Cool.
But I know you've
They've
said
been around
before
for
that
over
they
a decade
were
now,
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think you're a little more familiar with the Best Friends combo.
Yes.
Which I'm also very familiar with.
Yes.
That's actually the older combo
honestly,
of the two.
I miss the Best Friends combo.
Yeah, well,
Nothing against Roppongi Vice. I like
Chucky's
them
an
too.
agent now. He is retired from the ring.
Yeah, that's sad.
But I got to see that man in many a small venues screaming at little children. He is a national treasure as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, nice.
So we would then from here we get Romero and Cage back in the ring. Romero keeps working the arm. We get a bunch of good teamwork going on here between Roppongi Vice double teaming up on Christian. Roppongi is really dominating here offensively, doing a good job of cutting off the ring. Eventually, Christian would fight back, hitting a tornado DDT on Romero.
With his bad arm.
Yeah, but he can't really capitalize. He tries to get to his corner, but doesn't. He takes a lot of time to get over there, and eventually does get that hot tag to Cope. We get Cope coming in, kind of clearing house here. Eventually, Roppongi Vice would fight. Roppongi Vice would fight back. I'm stumbling over my words here.
That's okay.
And Trent would try to use the ropes for leverage, getting a pin, but immediately gets caught by the referee, saving Cope and Cage from a loss here.
Yep.
Cope throws Trent. At this point, Cope throws Trent up into the air, and Cage comes in, nailing him with a spear. Cage is not the legal man, so Cope goes for a cover, gets the 1, 2, 3, and.
That was a crazy finisher. I don't know that I've seen them do that before.
It's interesting, and from here, they're not finished, though, trying to send a message to FDR. Cage would bring in a chair. He would sort of set the folding chair up in the ring, and then he'd start stomping the crossbar on the back two legs of the chair.
Yep.
Then they take that bar, and Cage would, I'm sorry, not Cage, Cope would put a, crossface on a Trent with the bar in his mouth, and then Christian holds a mic up to him demanding that he quit. And now you can hear Trent valiantly going, "I'll quit, I'll quit, I'll quit." But I guess it's not coming through enough for the guys to be satisfied
you really can't
with.
understand it.
So Cope takes the bar out of his mouth, sort of tosses it away, and puts it back on the crossface, to which we could cleanly hear Trent say, "I quit."
Yeah.
So, sending more of a message here to FTR in this setup for the Double or Nothing New York Street Fight I Quit match, which is redundant. I think it's just an I Quit match. So we would head to the back now, where we have Renee Paquette interviewing with her gravel voice here, interviewing simply Jericho. So she talked about how Ricochet has beat him twice, and he's saying that the Rico Salt, which doesn't make sense. If it's a Ricochet, it's the Rico Salt.
Yes, thank you.
But they're calling it the Rico Salt.
Well, we'll just continue calling it the Rico Salt because that's the way it should be.
She inquires to Christian about how the Ricochet is saying the Rico Salt is the more improved version of the Lion Salt. Jericho says, they say that imitation is a serious form of flattering, but I don't feel very flattered right now. I'm pretty pissed off. The man then he, what does he say there? He says, it's clear that Ricochet has been following my career for a long time, but he clearly hasn't followed close enough. Boom! He gets hit by Toa Leona from behind. We have all this demand coming in. They're just stomping on Jericho here. Ricochet is screaming at him, is this what you wanted? Your big return to AEW. No more jokes, no more subliminal messages. I told you if you didn't leave, you were going to get hurt. The whole time he's poking his finger in Jericho's forehead. Then they throw Jericho into one of the equipment crates there, and he really hits his side pretty hard on that, and then collapses to the floor.
Yeah, and he held that side the whole rest of the segment. Yeah.
Well, now that Jericho's down, Ricochet's such a tough guy; he doesn't need his two boys anymore. So Bishop and Toa sort of hightailed out of there, leaving Ricochet standing there. Ricochet would hop over Jericho, then go for the Rico Salt, but just land on his feet next to Jericho, pretty much mocking him, and then do his, do you want to do it for me?
I can try. He does his little ha-ha laugh where he goes, ha-ha!
Yep. And that's the end of that. We head back into actually, I think we went to a commercial, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
Come back from here, and we head back into the ring for our next bout, which is the third championship match of the night.
Yep.
We have the women's tag team champions, the Divine Dominion, Megan Bayne and Lana Cross, defending the titles against the newly minted team of Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida. Yeah, I just thought it was really silly here how they feel the need to mention that they are 2-0. Is that really a great stat to put out there? They're undefeated. They've only had 2 matches.
Yeah,
oh my God. Well,
okay.
We'll see if that record holds up at the end of this.
Well, I do have to say, I just want to make a comment. When the Divine Dominion came out, oh my God, they look amazing. They look so badass. Their ring attire is amazing. I loved both of them.
They definitely have an aura about them.
They do.
Yeah.
I love it.
The match would start out with Shida and Lana Cross. Shida is hitting Lana with drop kicks, forearms. It's just not enough to take Lana down.
No.
You can really see the size differential here between the two women.
And even them and Stat.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a little bit of a taller
She's
girl,
a bit taller, but Lana Cross is giant out there.
Yes.
Lana would end up taking Shida out here and then tagging in Bayne. Bayne again, we're getting the same scenario here. Shida just cannot move Bayne around the ring. She's trying to pull on her and whip her. She's trying to kick her and punch her. It's just not working. Shida's getting frustrated. She goes to grab her kendo stick, but Chris stops her. They have a bit of a tug of war there over the kendo stick where Megan comes charging in. And right at the last second, I think it was Shida lets go of the stick and moves out of the way just enough so that Megan flies past her and hits the corner.
Mm-hmm.
From here, Chris is demanding that Shida tag her in. So Shida tags her in by tapping her on the head. Stat gets in and Shida kicks her in the gut. We got a big rise from the crowd here on this one. Kicks Chris partner in the gut. Yeah, her own partner. And then suplexes her into Megan in the corner. With that, Chris can't really capitalize on Megan taking that hit into the corner. So Megan's actually able to just push Chris back across the ring into the opposing corner where she tags in Lana.
We have the Divine Dominion doing some double teaming, but it's not really working at this point. Chris tries for a Saturday Night Fever, but this was so weird. She I don't know if she slips or if she drops.
I think Lena was fighting out of this and sort of slides underneath and slides out underneath of Chris, and Chris, trying to capitalize on the moment, just sort of sits down
and does a
Lena
weird two cover.
Yeah,
a weird cover for a two count.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get the ref is becoming distracted. So Lena actually, oh, I'm sorry. So we have Megan in the ring, and Lena's actually on the outside. And
Lena was just in the ring.
Yeah.
What's happening? So from here, Lena would sort of capitalize after this near fall and drop Chris across the top rope. She actually put her, it's kind of weird, she puts her up in a electric chair and then drops her forward onto the ropes. They do a bit of posing here. She tags back in Megan. Megan's working over Stat here, and then she's distracting the referee while Stat in the corner so that Lena can yank on her hair, which looks pretty nasty.
Yeah.
She's really yanking on it there. You can see like her neck really getting pulled back as she's doing this.
So we have the Divine. So throughout this whole part, Divine Dominion is doing a really good job of cutting the ring with Statlander. Stat and Sheeta really just aren't able to do much offensively to the Divine Dominion.
Yeah, and they're getting Stat's getting worked some double team here too.
So we have
eventually this breaks down. We get a bunch of back and forth. There's a great 450 splash that Statlander does from the top rope. I don't think I've seen her do at least I don't remember her doing a 450 splash before. This was she actually did on both girls as the girls were laying on top of each other.
Yes.
Shido would end up back in the ring here and hit a Falcon Arrow on, I think she hits a Falcon Arrow on Lena here and gets a 2 count. Then Lena and Sat do a series of switches with Megan.
Yeah. And then they did a double team move where Lena actually covers Sheeta for the win.
Yeah, they do that big double team. I'm still not understanding if this move is a choke slam or like some weird forward slam. It's weird. They like lift her up like under her arms, and every time I see the damn move, the camera's always to the back of the opponent, so I can't tell what the hell's going on in the front part, whether they have her by the throat. But they're always holding her under the armpit as well, so I don't know if it's just sort of a double lift bomb here. Okay. But the Divine Dominion gets the pin for the 1, 2, 3.
And retains their titles. So we go to the back with, again, Renee. Renee was our only interviewer tonight. She's with Don Callis.
Which is interesting considering she could barely talk.
Yeah, exactly. She's with Don Callis and El Idolo.
We have MJF coming in here. MJF's super angry. He's blaming Andrade for everything going on with Darby, the fact that Darby's the champion. Andrade is really weirdly just keeps going, how do you know? So MJF's like, Darby's a world champion. And Andrade quips with, how do you know? I don't understand this. What do you mean, how do you know? Because he's a fucking champion. Because he has a belt. The company says he's a champion. There's a graphic on the website. He just defended the title last week. The hell is Andrade talking about? And this is really pissing MJF off here.
Yeah, and he does this like, 4 or 5 times?
He does like 3 or 4 times, yeah. And him and MJF start getting in a little bit of shoving match. Don breaks this up real quick. He tells Andrade, look, MJF doesn't have a belt. You don't need to fight him right now. And let's just focus on business.
Yes.
So from there, we would head out to Rush in action against Steve Fuerte. This starts out with Rush laying in a huge forearm, knocking Fuerte down, who rolls it to the outside. He then starts throwing him into the guardrails. He ends up bringing him back in the ring, getting him down in the corner, starts like stomping on his chest, like literally standing both feet and jumping up and down on him. Then follows it up with the bull horns for the 1, 2, 3. After the match, Rush would get on the mic here. He says something in Spanish. Not sure what he says here. And then he finishes in English with, when you mess with the bull, you get the horns. Oh, so a big Breakfast Club fan he must be. We head to the back once again with Renee. Like we said, the only person doing interviews tonight. And she is now with the the addition of Anthony Bowens. So we have the whole crew back together
Yep.
and Anthony Bowens. So Bowens, Hook, Joe, and Shibata.
Yep. And we start with Joe on the mic, which I thought was kind of
The whole
interesting.
time I think we had Joe on the mic, right?
Yeah. But I was just making the comment that Joe's the one that's on the mic, which I thought was kind of interesting because we haven't really been told yet if Joe is taking over his former position. Yeah, reclaiming his position as the leader. So
of the Ops, yeah. Which I mean, it felt like that was what was going on last week, or Thursday or Saturday on Collision when they were doing that segment where they're walking through the hallway.
Yep. Yeah,
because it definitely sort of seemed like Hook was just bringing Joe back up, and it definitely seemed like the interplay, the relational interplay between the two men is that Joe was sort of the dominant figure in that, and even Hook telling Anthony Bowens that they don't have any room in the Ops, and Samoa Joe, saying no, it's fine, he can be in the Ops. There's a word there I'm trying to use that I can't think of. So nonetheless, but back to this segment here with the Ops.
Yeah. So Renee asks, "What's the game plan moving forward?" And Joe says, "We plan to resume our dominance in AEW. We're going to do it with guys like Shibata and Anthony Bowens. And then we come to Hook. He is going to become the king of television when he captures the TNT title on Collision." And then he starts talking to Will Ospreay and saying, "Do you want to have a career of convenience?"
Yeah, well, he's talking about how they used to have his back,
right?
But now that he's hanging out with the Death Riders, and they don't think that's a good idea. And then they're asking him, which is sort of parroting what John had said on Collision to Will about what path he wants to choose. And Joe says, "Do you want a career, one of convenience, or do you want one of confidence?"
So it seems to me like Joe's back as the leader.
And after this, we get another quick backstage segment. No Renee this time. It's just FTR with Big Stoke. And they're talking about the conglomeration. And obviously they had just had this battle out in ringside and through the crowd.
And Stokely is talking to the conglomeration, basically saying, double jeopardy, you go one-on-one with Dax.
Yeah, he's saying on, I think, Collision.
Oh, Collision, double.
So, yeah, he's talking on Orange Cassidy. He's saying on Collision, double jeopardy, you're going to go one-on-one with Dax. If you win, any two members of the conglomeration can have a shot at the tag team titles. But when we win, we go for the trios title. And then he says something about we have a different partner here, which I don't even know what that means.
Well, he was saying you're not going to go face to face with me. We're going to go with a different partner, and this is when we get Tommaso Ciampa coming out. So Tommaso Ciampa is going to be that third person in the trios titles because we see Stokely
if Dax wins.
Yes. Because we've seen this before with Stokely. He's kind of like a little bitch when it comes to being in the ring. I was trying to be nice.
Why would you try to be nice to him?
I don't know. Because
I don't either. And from here, folks, we're coming to the end of the show and our show as well, as it is now time for the main event.
Yes.
It is for the AEW World Championship. Darby Allin defending the title for the second time, this time against Brody King, only 1 week removed from his last insane title match against Tommaso Ciampa.
Yes.
Allin starts this out with like a House of Fury, just starts running up and nailing Brody King. He runs to the ropes, does a springboard like backsplash that he likes to do, but gets knocked right out of the air by Brody. He ends up in the bottom of a corner. Brody nails it with a cannonball, and then goes for the Gonzo bomb that Darby Allin fights out of. They would end up in a corner where Darby Allin would hit a code red from the top for a near fall. This then spills to the outside. Brody spills to the outside where Darby dives through the ropes, throwing like that back first suicida, but literally just bounces off of Brody King like he just hit a wall.
Yeah.
Brody would drag Allin around ringside, sit him in a folding chair, and then he would charge at Allin. Allin jumps out of the chair real quick, kicks Brody in the knees, knocking his legs out from under him. Brody would go face first into the chair. From here, Darby would set Brody up in a different chair over by the commentary area, and then head up to the top rope. We seen this before. He did this in the match against Andrade, where he does a diving missile dropkick from the top rope to King on the outside through the chair. They would head back in from here, where Darby starts throwing a series of strikes on Brody King.
And this is also at the point, as he's getting back in, we see him clutching his left ankle or his leg afterwards, and he's actually limping back into the ring.
Well, yeah, and right after he did that big drop kick from the top rope, he was clutching at his leg.
Yep.
And this would be a recurring thing here in this match, and it looked legit.
Mm-hmm.
I know this guy clearly is fighting through pain and lying about it. I think he's a bit of a masochist. Honestly, and I know people used to say that about Mick Foley, and Mick Foley swears to God he is not. He was just really good at taking pain. I legitimately think Darby is a masochist, and I'm kind of convinced he's trying to kill himself young. I think he knows his body is going to die by the time he gets old. As insane as that sounds, I think he's trying to kill himself young. So, nonetheless, here, moving on from my crazy conspiracy theory, we head back in the ring. Darby Allin starts attacking Brody King with a series of strikes. Brody's just standing there taking all of them, and then knocks Darby down with a big forearm. Darby gets back up.
I love that. It's one.
Yeah.
Darby does all these hits on him, and it does absolutely nothing to him. Brody has to do one, and it literally just knocks Darby off his feet.
Darby gets back up to his feet and gets taken down again with a big chop. That looked crazy. You could hear that echo through the arena.
Mm-hmm.
He would pick Darby back up, whip him real hard into the turnbuckles. Darby collapsed into the mat. He would then pick Darby up, scoop slam him, go for a pin, get a 2 count. He would get back up, pick Darby up, scoop slam him again, and go for another 2 count. Darby is up on his knees now. He gets hit with a big chop to the chest that sort of folds him backwards with his legs, with his feet still under him.
Yep.
And Brody King would then senton him with Darby with his legs still underneath of him.
So he hits him right on his thighs with
his thighs and his stomach and chest. And
oh my God.
I swear to God, the way he did this, this could have easily blown out his knees. It could have easily blown out his quad.
I don't think I've ever
It could have
seen
broken
that.
his ankles because his feet were under him. This was such a crazy fucking move
Brody
here.
King is such a big dude. I think they said he's 6'6" and 350 pounds.
Yeah, now Darby's tiny.
Yeah.
It's one thing when you're another 350 pound. I mean, nobody should be taking 350 pound sentons, but it's a whole nother thing when you're a tiny guy with your legs folded up under you.
Oh my gosh.
So, then Brody King would, because we're not done with the insane violence against Darby Allin here.
It's a Darby Allin match.
Brody King, Brody King told him. He told him earlier in the night. Brody would pick Darby up off the mat. He would sit him on the top rope, in the middle of the ropes.
Yep.
And then nail him with a massive chop. Oh. Darby would go flying backwards out of the ring.
He smacks
rolling
his back.
down, smacking his shoulders, head on the ring apron before hitting the floor. And even as he tumbled to the floor, his head actually hit the chair that Brody had been previously laying in. It wasn't set up anymore. It was now flat on the mats on the outside, but he'd actually clink his head against that.
And then at this point, we actually have the camera panning out into the crowd, and we see Kevin Knight standing there watching the match as it's happening.
Watching on the potential the next in line for the title in a match that we're going to see next week. It's a matter of whether we're going to see Darby or Brody.
Mm-hmm.
So from here, Brody heads to the outside himself. He picks Darby up on the outside and slams him with a Uranagi into the ring frame, on the apron. Mm. But they're not both on the apron. Darby's on the outside, picks up, slams him on top of the apron. King then proceeds to start ripping apart the commentary desk. He pulls that top plastic wood piece, whatever it is, off and drags it over to the guardrails where he lays it often people will with a table.
Or a ladder.
Or a ladder,
table.
yes.
Yep.
That's where he leans it against it. Then he goes, he starts to go back over to Darby. Darby dives off of the ring apron onto Brody's back and hooks in a sleeper. He's got sleeper on for a few seconds here before Brody runs forward and spinning himself around, slamming Darby through this piece of the commentary table. Then we have King back up to his feet here. He's trying to pull Darby, but Darby would fight off and shove Allen right into the corner of the commentary table, like gut first. Then the two men end up on the table where Brody hooks in that like hanging sleeper. He likes
Yes.
to do that. He's already hurt. With the one that put MJF out and got him the win over MJF. The one that he has already done to Darby multiple times.
Has he done it on Swerve?
Probably. I wouldn't be
Okay.
surprised. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
think there
think
was
he did during that feud.
Yeah.
We'd have to go back and look, even though that was just a couple months ago, folks. So much has happened in
I
that
know.
short amount of time. So he does that while Darby's legs are hanging off the edge of the commentary table. Darby would rake Brody's eyes to get out of this, then jump back up on the table and hit a code red through Brody. The table does not break.
No.
They just land hard on the table. Darby heads back inside and then hits I think it was a tope or a suicida through the ropes
and lands
on the King.
Yep.
Sending King flying into the commentary table once again.
And this is a point during some of these where we also see him again clutching his knee and limping.
Well, and he was struggling to run for the suicida.
Yes.
He got back in the ring. You could see he was limping across the ring to hit that suicida, which is they really didn't use this as a point in the match. They weren't. Brody wasn't attacking the leg, so this seems like this was just a legit injury going on here with Darby. Brody would end up taking over control here though pretty quick. He would end up smashing Darby in the corner, then hit him with a huge clothesline. Darby looks completely out of it here too on the mat. He would Allen would end up back in a corner. Brody would charge at him in the corner, but Darby would get out of the way. Brody smashes into the corner. Then Darby starts laying in more strikes, but once again, Brody just sort of shakes him off and then grabs Darby by like the neck and just tosses him over the top rope out of the ring, and Darby falls on top of a cameraman. So we're actually watching that camera shot as this happens. So we
which
just
sucks
see the
because we didn't really get to see what actually
didn't. And they never did replay that where we got to see him crash into.
I know.
I wonder if there was some legal thing there about
maybe.
that. They don't want to have to pay somebody's
so we didn't really
workman's
get to
comp.
see how he actually
I think it was the camera guy too. If you watch enough AEW, I'm sure you recognize him. The one who has like the shaved head with the real long hair, but it's just like a giant mohawk almost going all the way down his back. It's like 5 feet long. It's crazy. So from here, Brody would head out to the ring. He would grab Darby by the ankles and start trying to drag Darby along the floor outside, but Darby's clutching to one of the cushion mats on the outside, end up pulling the mat back, exposing that concrete floor. Brody would let go, and Darby would crawl along the floor to the guardrail, and this is where Brody would charge at him for a cannonball into Allen against the guardrail, but Allen moves, and Brody crashes through the guardrail. That looked wild. I was really not expecting that.
No.
I was expecting him just to flat hit that guardrail and be done. And honestly, in WWE a lot, this has become very choreographed, where they do it right over by the timekeeper's cable, and you can tell anytime they're setting somebody up there and a guy starts running for him, they're probably gonna smash through that piece of the the worked guardrail there. But I was not expecting this at all in this situation. But nonetheless, Brody crashing with that upside down cannonball through the guardrail. Darby would head back towards the ring. Brody would finally make it up to his feet and get up onto the apron where Darby would do a sunset flip powerbomb onto Brody onto that exposed part of the concrete floor.
God, that hit so
That
hard.
was wild. Darby heads up to the top rope really quick, hits a huge coffin drop from the top rope onto Brody on that concrete floor. He would get back up. Both men would get back up. Darby would Brody trying to save the count, slides back into the ring just as Darby Allin gets to the top rope. He hits a coffin drop, doesn't go for the count, heads back up, hits another coffin drop, goes for the cover, gets the 1, 2, 3, and there we have it. Darby Allin in his second defense, retaining the AEW World Title. They show once again Kevin Knight watching from the crowd.
And also MJF in the back was watching.
Yes. On a monitor.
And one thing that I really liked about this match too, which is probably not so much a big deal for a lot of other people, but I really like the fact that they began this match and they ended this match with a handshake. I just think it is so respectful and it's just so nice, which is one thing I really
Did
enjoy.
they start them out with a handshake? I missed that.
They did. They started out with one and they ended with one.
Very,
I love the respect.
very honorable of them.
Yes.
These two warriors. And so, there you have it, folks. That's what we're going to see next week on Dynamite. It's going to be Kevin Knight challenging Darby Allin for the AEW World Title. Kevin Knight could possibly walk out dual champion, which I know is something that MJF was hoping to do by winning the TNT title tonight.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine how pissed off MJ would be?
Yeah,
he would. I almost kind of want to see that. That would be funny.
And so there we go, folks. Make sure to check out daily our WrestleCord news break on YouTube, where you get to hear me, Ryan, tell you all of the news going on in the wrestling and MMA world.
And not just here, but you get to see his face too.
Yeah, you don't just get to hear my voice, you get the unfortunate displeasure of seeing my weird-looking mug as well.
No.
So, folks, please, if you like this podcast, please favor and subscribe to it. On YouTube, please like and subscribe. Check that notification button. God, I hate saying this. I sound like
all the other
these annoying YouTubers. And you can get your fix of WrestleCord every week.
Yes.
So, but like I said, daily we'll be doing the WrestleCord news breaks with me, and maybe I can convince Cordial one of these times to join in there, and we will be going over. I think probably in tomorrow's news break, I'll go over some more of what's going to happen on Collision. We already have a bunch of matches announced for the show, one of which I know you're super excited for, and that is the Anna Jay.
Oh yeah, Anna Jay going up against Willow Nightingale for the oh my gosh, I can't think right now.
TBS title.
TBS title. Thank you. Sorry, I wanted to say TNT, but no, I was like, that's not right.
You claim to be such a big Willow fan. You have two of her shirts. You can't even tell me what title she holds.
I know.
Oh, come on, you're slacking here. It's getting late.
I was gonna say
it's almost
late.
1 a.m. here on the East Coast, folks. Thanks for joining us, and we should hopefully see you again this Saturday, but we've lied about that before.
We'll do our best to do it Saturday night.
I will, of course, you can see me every day with the WrestleCord news break. Again, I'm fucking talking about this. You can always find us on youtube.com/WrestleCord. You can find us on Spotify, RSS.com, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcast fix, you junkies. And you also can contact us if you have any questions, some fan comments. Tell us how much you hate the show at WrestleCord26@gmail.com. And thank you, folks, for joining us for the WrestleCord podcast. This is Ryan for Cordial signing off.